How the hell did we get here?
It's a big triangle or something, I don't know. What's on the top there?
Straighter!
Yep,
That roundhouse right hand.
And that's what we've been talking about, the straight shot. Exactly. The one where he gets leverage on it.
I don't want to kill
Pull
somebody
back
for
a little
few
bit.
seconds.
Nah, I want a body on my record.
Now, I want to see you fight motherfuckers. I do. All right, I'm with you. I'm with you. As long as you're trying to fight the great, the best competition.
Teofimo Lopez started his boxing career in 2016 against Ishawar Sikaquer Scissor, a fucking bum. He went on to fight Francisco, bum. Daniel, bum. Jorge Luis, bum. Ronald, bum. Christian, bum. Josh Ross, bum. Juan Pablo Sanchez, bum. Victor Jones, bum. That's what he did. Now, I see a lot of people telling me about Devin fighting Mexicans. Now I'm not sure, but I'm pretty positive that Munguia, Santabez, Rivas, Sanchez, I'm pretty sure Sesquervo, Scissor, I'm pretty sure those guys are Mexican. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure those are Mexican names. Absolute fucking bums. Bums. I'm not sure why motherfuckers couldn't go to Africa and pick up some bums, but for some strange reason, I guess Mexico's the place to be, but whatever. He went on to fight William Silva. Now, when he fought William Silva was ranked number 15. By the time he fought William Silva, who was ranked number 15 in the WBO, he had already got a number 15 ranking in the WBA by beating a fucking unranked bum in Juan Pablo Bum. He was number 15 in the WBA. He then fought Victor Bum and moved up to number 14. So by the time he fought William Silva, who was ranked number 15 in the WBO, he was number 12 in the WBA. That was the only sanctioning body that Teofimo was ranked in. The only one. So you would think that he would go or would be going the WBA route. Well, if you look at those times, at the time, Jorge Linares was the lineal champion. All right, he was the WBA and lineal champion. Teofimo Lopez was in line to fight Jorge Linares as a voluntary before Linares fought Vasil Lomachenko. That is a factual statement. All right, that's a factual statement. He was ranked number 15 in the WBA. Jorge Linares could have fought Teofimo Lopez right then. When he was number 14 in the WBA, Jorge Linares could have fought Teofimo Lopez right then. That's a voluntary fight. He did not. He ended up fighting Lomachenko when when Teofimo Lopez was ranked number 12 in that same WBA. Robert Easter was the IBF champion from the time this man started his career until when the time that Lomachenko beat Linares. Mikey Garcia and Dijon Latishinin, they were the fucking champions. Terry Flanagan was a WBO champion. Anthony Corolla was the man. Anthony Corolla and Linares fought. They were 1 and 2. That made Linares the champion. Linares stayed the champion, the lineal champion. So when Teofimo Lopez became number 12 in the WBA, Lomachenko was the champion. Robert Easter was still the IBF. Mikey Garcia was the WBC. Raymond Beltran, and then Lomachenko. So Teofimo Lopez was in line to fight Lomachenko as a voluntary. His next fight was against Devin Haney's leftovers, a guy that Devin Haney knocked out, Mason Menard. These are facts. But you guys worry so much about leftovers, but only when it comes to Devin Haney. Whatever. So he fights Mason Menard, who was unranked. So beating a guy that Devin beat, knocking out a guy that Devin already knocked out, made this man number 11 in the WBA. He moved up. It made him number 14 in the WBO and number 19 in the WBC by beating an unranked guy. His next fighter, Diego Magdaleno, who was also unranked. Richard Coleman was the IBF champion. Mikey Garcia was WBC. Lomachenko was now the unified WBO and WBA. Out of nowhere, this man jumps into the IBF rankings at number 9. Out of nowhere. He was not ranked in the IBF at all. But he beats Mason Menard and goes to fight unranked Diego Magdaleno and poof, number 9 in the IBF. Moves up 4 spots in the WBO, 8 spots in the WBC, and ironically drops out of the WBA. How ironic. He goes on to fight Edis Totley. Now, Edis Totley was ranked number 12 in the IBF, number 4 in the WBO, and number 6 in the WBC. All sanctioning bodies that Teo is now ranked in. How ironic. Richard Coleman, Mikey Garcia, and Lomachenko were still the champions. So now this Teofimo Lopez jumps from number 9 to number 4 in the IBF. From number 5 to number 2. No, number 10 to number 5 in the WBO. From number 10 to number 5. Now, the WBO one, I can understand. You just beat the number 4 guy. I get it. You beat the number 4 guy. I get it. But you beat a guy that's behind you in the IBF. Behind you. And you move up to number 4. Wow. The WBC, I get. He was number 6. You were number 11. I understand you moved to 4. I would have liked to see him move to at least maybe 5, maybe 7. Or 6 themselves. I would like that. Either 6 or 5, 6, or 7 are the ones that I would have liked. But I understand number 4 in WBC. I'm not hating. The WBO, that one I absolutely get. That man was number 4 that you beat. You became number 5. It makes perfect sense. But beating number 12 in the IBF when you're number 9 and now you become number 4, I don't get. Okay. His next fight, Tuki Tuki. Tuki Tuki was number 3 in the IBF, number 14 in the WBO, and number 7 in the WBC, which made him number 4 in the IBF. Right? Number 4. Number 2 in the WBO, which how do you as number 4 fight number 14? As number 5 fight number 14 and become number 2. The math ain't mathing. The number 5 ranked fighter fights number 14 ranked fighter and becomes number 2. Sure. Okay, whatever. And then number 4 in WBC. Well, some wheeling and dealing went on, right? He could have fought for the vacant WBC title. He was in the 4-man tournament. As you see, he's ranked number 4. When Mikey Garcia vacated the title, he was ranked number 4. He was the last person, the last fighter in the 4-man tournament. Number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4 were part of the 4-man tournament. All right, 2 of those fighters were Devin Haney and Teofimo Lopez. Those were 2. The other two don't even matter. But those were two of the opponents, two of the fighters in that 4-man tournament. Devin was supposed to fight somebody, and Teo was supposed to fight somebody. The winner of those two fights were supposed to fight each other, and that would have been the WBC mandatory to the vacant title. Yes, the WBC mandatory to the vacant title. That person would have fought one person for the WBC title. Whatever. That man pulled out and went the IBF route. Out of nowhere, this man becomes number one in IBF. Out of nowhere. Number one mandatory to Richard Commey. Number one. Richard Commey was ranked number 3 in the lineal status. This was the first lineal ranked fighter that Teofimo Lopez fought, which was the IBF champion, Richard Commey. So he beats Richard Commey and becomes the IBF champion himself. Devin Haney is the WBC champion. Lomachenko is the WBO, the WBA, and the WBC franchise. Teofimo Lopez is the IBF. His next fight was against number 1 IBF ranked. His next fight was against Vasyl Lomachenko, the lineal champion, the WBA, and the WBO champion, the WBC franchise as well. But I ain't counting that shit. He beats Lomachenko. He now becomes the WBO, WBA, IBF, WBC franchise, and lineal champion. His next fight was against the number 9 ranked lineal fighter in George Kambosos. He was number 9 lineal when Teofimo Lopez fought him. This was the second lineal fighter that Teofimo Lopez fought. People down in the grade George Kambosos, but he was ranked number 9 lineally and number 1 in the IBF. He beat Teofimo Lopez. And George Kambosos became the man. Teofimo Lopez moved up immediately. No rematches, no nothing. He just moved up to 140, where Josh Taylor was the champion. And he fought unranked Pedro Campa. He was not ranked nowhere. But when Teofimo Lopez moved up, he was number 10 in the IBF, number 7 in the WBA, and number 3 in the WBC. He was not ranked in the WBO. Not ranked. His next fight against Sandor Martin, of which a fight that many people say he lost, Sandor Martin was ranked number 15 in the IBF and number 4 in the WBC. Which means that Teofimo Lopez would have arguably been the mandatory to Regis Porgray, because the IBF was vacant. Regis Porgray was the WBC. Josh Taylor was the WBO. Alberto Pulo was the WBA. This man was ranked in the IBF, the WBA, and the WBC. He was not ranked for 2 fights in the WBO. Unranked. But mysteriously fights Josh Taylor in his very next fight. Unranked WBO fighter fights the WBO champion. Unranked. But mysteriously and ironically, when he goes to fight Josh Taylor, this man jumps into the WBO rankings as the number 1 ranked opponent. Not number 5, not number 4. He jumps in his very first appearance in the WBO rankings is right when he fought Josh Taylor. And he jumped in the rankings at number 1. Number 1. He was number 6 in the IBF. He could have fought Subriel Matisse for the vacant IBF title. He was number 7 in the WBA. He could have fought Alberto Pulo for the WBA strap. He was number 3 in the WBC. He could have fought Regis Rougarou Pourgray for the WBC title, where he was the most highest ranked, number 3. Instead, he jumps into the rankings out of nowhere at number 1 in the WBO and fights Josh Taylor. Josh Taylor. Teofimo Lopez becomes the lineal champion when he beats Josh Taylor. Subiel Matisse is the IBF. Regis Pourgray is the WBC. The WBO is now Teofimo Lopez, and the WBA was Rolly Romero now. He then fights Jermaine Ortiz in a fight that people say he lost. Jermaine Ortiz was ranked number 10. Not number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. He fights the number 10 guy and arguably lost. Teofimo Lopez has fought 9 ranked fighters. He's fought 3 undefeated fighters. He fought 3 champions and 2 lineal ranked fighters. His opponents are 397 victories, 64 losses, and 9 draws. That's an 83.88% win ratio. BFTB. Shout out to the mighty LDBC. I'm out.